So here we go again. Welcome to part 2 of my 2025 craft room tour. This is Luise Heinzel. Nice to see you here today. In my last video, I have already shown you an overview over this whole room. So if you have missed that video, you can find it linked below in the description box of this video. And in part 1, I also have given you some information about this area here around my desk. I have shown you everything in detail. So if you want to know what I have on my desk here and why and what this all is, then please watch the first part of the craft room tour. We've also talked already about this thing here and what it contains. And I also have given you something like a rough overview over the whole system in this room, which is based on the 72 colors of the Distress palette by Tim Holtz and Ranger, and also some components for making junk journals, which I have in this big cabinet here. And in today's video, I would like to show you, the rest. So we haven't talked about this thing here. We haven't talked about what exactly is in here, and we haven't talked about this, and we also haven't talked about this special drawer there in the corner. This is, and that is where I want to start the second part of this tour. This is a cabinet I got from my grandma, and I'm really, really happy that I have this. So this once was in her house, or in the house of my my grandparents. I always say my grandma because my grandma was a really, and still is a really big inspiration for me. And she's a really big role model for what I do today and how my style is today and how I think about being creative and so on. So in here, I have a ton of buttons. And in the meantime, they are mixed with, like some other things like beads and so on. When I got this cabinet after my grandma passed away, here in here I had the buttons from my grandma and also from my mom. But then I decided that I want to put other tiny things in here as well, because why not? It fits theme-wise. So as you can see, they are sorted by color somehow, but in this cabinet I don't have the order of the colors of the Distress palette by Tim and Ranger, because that would be just impossible. I mean, if I have these mediums, okay, there's the name of the, since I have these mediums, the names of the mediums are on the bottles, aren't they? And the color is the color. And I can have this there for my paper organization, and I can say, okay, I have a piece of paper and that belongs to this or that color from the Distress palette. But if I would do that in the same way with all of my buttons and beads, that would drive me completely crazy. So I decided that I want to do a more, generic, probably, organization here. So I have, red, blue, green, orange, yellow, and so on here, so that I can see which color it is. And when I then need a specific color, let's say I want to have some pink buttons and they need to look like picked raspberry, for example, then I take this whole thing out. So I have these little guys in here. And I can then, take this out and search for the buttons which would fit to, let's say in this example, picked raspberry in that case. That is really handy for me, because I can take this and take that to my desk and then take out what I want to use for my project. And in here there are also some really special things. This, for example, my grandma made by hand. So this is some Fimo, and she made all of these beads by herself. And then we have this necklace thing. I'm really happy that I have this. I mean, I don't know if I will use this in a junk journal one day, but having this piece and also other pieces, and that counts for all of the buttons as well, in this drawer or in these drawers, that is really important to me, because with that I always have the feeling that my grandma is somehow with me in this room. So A German junk journal friend of mine once said, this is a Knöpfchenhimmel. That means something like button sky. And that is really what it is. I would say it's perhaps, somehow a button universe. So next to this, I have this little thing, which is also from my grandma. She used this for some things like zippers and yarn and lace and so on. I have some personal things in here now which I don't need so often. And on the bottom here, I have my yarns for my sewing machine, also sorted by color. In there, there's my embroidery thread, and this thing is also from my grandma. So, I mean, this little basket here. So this is somehow my grandma corner. How can I say that? So when I then turn around, I have not only this counter here, but this also has drawers. And all of this is kitchen furniture. I found that really, really handy for setting up this craft room. So let's open these. In here, I have all of my lace, little pieces of fabric, which are not Tim Holtz fabric. And I really like this. So these things here, these little, how do you say? I don't know. These are normally meant for socks and for organizing socks or underwear or so. They have these little flexible compartments, which are made from, like a really sturdy fabric. And I find this really, really helpful for all of these tinier pieces, like, these are all not so long, which are in here, because it's just, snippets of lace. That is really handy. Unfortunately, there is, this drawer can only have one of these, I couldn't find one of these, which is the size of the drawer. That would be even better, because then I could make this system for the whole drawer. But as you can see, with some additional baskets, this works as well. So in the right one, there's mainly lace, and here are my tinier pieces of fabric. And then here I have bigger pieces of fabric / doilies and all of that stuff. This is sorted by round things there and rectangular or square things here, and also a little bit by full pieces and leftover pieces. So for example, this pile here has things where I already have torn off something, so that I know I have this here and I can use this to tear it up. Or tear it up? Is that English? To tear it. And here are the pieces where, nothing is torn off yet, and which I can use in the way it is. For example, if I want to make a journal cover and I need a full doily, then I know the round full doilies are here. Here on the bottom, it's a little chaos because here there are my empty boxes for my Christmas ornaments. I'm planning on making this into my decoration / seasonal / I think mainly Christmas decoration drawer. But this is a work in progress. There are also some tools like drills and so on, but this is not finished yet, to be honest. Here are also, don't get confused, here are also some PM Artist Studio stamps. They need to go somewhere else, but I'm not finished with organizing this room yet. Here in this drawer, it looks also a little weird because my, how is this called? Laminator? I guess that is not an English word, but where you can have this plastic foil and then you run it through the machine and then the piece is protected with plastic. I don't know how that is said in English. And I have some acrylic paints here, some backup gesso things, my alcohol for alcohol ink, because this bottle doesn't fit into my drawer where I have my alcohol ink, so it needs to stay here. Here's also some instant coffee when I want to coffee dye my papers. So now I lost my own context because of a call from Barbara at 49 Dragonflies, but that is not a problem. I mean, let's walk around the corner here and go to the other side of this counter. I mean, if you make a video, yeah, and I mean, you are really important to me and for my life, and I want you to see this because you have asked for this. But if Barbara is calling, then you need to stop the video and talk with her. Yeah, that is a logical thing, isn't it? So let's go on. This here is nothing else than 4 kitchen cabinets mounted to each other so that I have this big surface here to work on, and also more drawers on this side. I find that really, really handy. And in here, I store my Tim Holtz Ideology collection and also some Stampers Anonymous, etc. pieces. There is something else, but let's just open these and take a look inside. So here in this top drawer, I have everything I need on a really regular basis, sorted by, yeah, by what it is and by theme slash size slash shape. For example, let's start here with the paper dolls. I have the mini paper dolls in this little basket. Then here are paper dolls as well, but they get bigger. Here there are the things which come with the paper dolls, but which are not paper dolls, but these houses and the cars. And in here there are also the portraits. And no, this is not sorted seasonally. So all of my Christmas and Halloween paper dolls are in here, in this system, sorted by size. I just said I have them also in here sorted by shape. So that means the photos, which are not paper dolls, I mean, these are people as well, aren't they? But these are rectangular. And these are the photo booth, and how are the others called? Photomatic, I think. In here, there are the snapshots and these relatives, which are, you know, already a little older. But these are bigger. I mean, they are rectangular as well, the same as these, but they are bigger. Do you know what I mean? I always need this, you know, I want, let's say I want a focal point, which is a person. Then I can decide, do I want a full body? Then I can choose from the paper dolls here, and I can also immediately see how big can that focal point be. And then I can decide if I either want a tiny paper doll or a bigger one or even a portrait, or if I want something which has like a frame, then I can take the person from here. Or if I need something which is even bigger, then I can take it from here. Does that make sense? Hopefully. In here, there are all my quotes and, yeah, other things. Also, this historical thing here. And everything, yeah, basically, which is sold in this sticker book format. In here, I also have my beloved sellotape. I mean, how could we live without this? I don't know. The flashcards need to find another space because this is not really handy, but yeah, I don't know. Perhaps I will put a little divider here so that the flashcards don't get lost in this big basket. Then I have my washi tapes and my linen tapes in here. Normally here there are my trees also next to the things you can see here. So I'm talking about these kind of trees, but I have them all displayed in my apartment at the moment because, to be honest, I haven't put my Christmas decoration away yet. So all of the trees I have are somewhere here in my apartment, and when I then take off my Christmas decoration, they will go back in here. Here are my baseboard pieces, and these yeah, quote pieces, which are these thicker ones. Also, the Christmas ones and the Halloween ones are all in here, mixed with the regular ones. So then here on the right, I've made this system here, and I find this really, really handy. These are fridge organizers, and in here I have all my tinier ideology pieces sorted by, yeah, also by theme. You know, everything butterfly, everything botanical, all the flowers in one container, all of the transparencies in one container. And the cool thing is, these smaller ones fit on the bigger ones. So you can see here, I have these bigger ones on the first floor, how can I say that? The first level. And then this can sit in here, but I can still see what's in there. The sad thing is, normally, size-wise, there would fit a third one of these in the middle here, but somehow, sometimes, can you see, this is not so good. It's not sitting here completely because somehow the thing underneath is spreading somehow, and then this is not sitting really sturdy. So, First, I thought this really bothers me that I can't put a third one in here. But then I thought it's even good that that is not, obviously not such a good quality, because when I only have this and this here, I can peek through here and see what's underneath without the need of taking everything off. So this drawer is also somehow a work in progress. This here, I need to find a better place for that. This is my collage paper, and it's just, you know, laying on here in this little envelope, but I need to find a better solution for that because it bothers me that this is not the same system like the rest. Yeah, but this is really handy because I can also take these and take them with me to my desk, take out what I want and what I need, and then put this back in here. So that means if you have seen the last video and if you are interested in this, you know, general organization I have here, all of my ideology pieces are in here. And even if I could organize them by color in this shelf, I haven't done that. Why not? Because then it is harder for me to find them. And perhaps, you know, I made some ideology makes for Tim. And with that, I needed everything in one place. And when I make an ideology project, I don't want to search for the things in here because that would take so much time. So that's the reason why everything ideology related is in here. Here I have my ideology pieces which are not paper. So that means all of these, you know, tinier things like the adornments and the word plaques and so on. I have them in these little dividers here. That is really handy because same reason, I can take this whole thing out, take that to my desk, or what I also often do is I put this here, open it, take out what I want to use for my project, and then I can put the rest directly back into this drawer so that I don't have too much on my table, but only what I want to use for my project. My Tim Holtz fabric is also here in this basket. So this is full with Tim Holtz fabric. And I also used these little things from the watercolor pencils to store some other things in here, which are, yeah, like tinier things and don't need so much space, and that is really helpful. I also have these. You can see it's not all the same kind of storage, but that is not important to me. It just has to fit in here. These things are normally meant for storing photos. There's on Amazon, you can find that sometimes. It was, for me, really hard to find these, but I think overseas you can get them easier. Can you see? This is really high. I'm sorry. This box there, that is the box these smaller boxes come with. So you can take these And I think 6 of those fit into the bigger box I've just shown you, but I don't need that. I want to have them separately, but just, that that you can also put these into the bigger box and then store the whole thing. If you have, for example, something where you say, okay, I need to take out everything of that. Yeah, so that would also be a possibility. Why isn't this closing now? Oh no. This is really sometimes hard to close, but that is good because then it doesn't open automatically or by itself. So here I have also, these, how is that called? These, ribbons and so on from Ideology, and also some mummy cloth and the closures from journals where I didn't make a closure. Because, the material, you can still use the material. Even if you don't, use that for a journal. Then in here, I have my Christmas paper from Ideology. This is just some Halloween stuff. These are some scraps left over from, different projects, so that I know if I need only a tiny piece, then I can search for that in this basket. This is backdrop and also older paper by Tim Holtz. I mean, the older paper, this bigger, these bigger paper pads which are not available anymore. Then bouquet flowers. I definitely need to stock up on these because they are retired, I think, in the meantime. I'm not totally sure, or they will get retired, but that doesn't matter. I need more bouquet flowers. Without bouquet flowers, I can't live. And then here on the bottom, I have my bigger paper pads. So that is what I just meant. These older paper pads which have a bigger size. Then here there are also my backdrops and the etc. pieces by Stampers Anonymous. Yeah, all of those I have in these little sleeves because then nothing can get lost. Even these tinier pieces, these frames, if they would be loose in here, I would be afraid that they could break when I open this drawer too aggressively. So everything of that is in here. So if I want to make like a miniature thing or so, then I can see what I have here. Also, all of my vignette boxes, curio clocks, and so on are in here. And then here on the bottom, I have everything which is like, storage tins which are empty and which I can use for something. My iron is in here, and here there are some pieces which I often use for making tags or so. So this is just some heavier paper from the trash can. These little things here I got in a Happy Mail, I think. So this is everything you can use to make a base where then something else goes on so that you don't see this ugly paper anymore. My cradle is here as well. And some backups of these. I can't come in here. Oh, this is really narrow here. I'm sorry. Some backups of these cutting mats. Even, I have, I think, 3 or 4 of these. I bought these a long time ago when I didn't have the glass mat on my table. So in the past I used these, but I think I don't need them anymore because I have the glass mats. So then that is that. Oh, here is my a really, really big treasure. I have started this collection with Tim Holtz wooden stamps, and I bought the most of these secondhand online. This thing around here is just a little wooden thing which I also have from my mother's sewing room. So I thought that looks nice, but as you can see, you can't see them all. But I'm planning to have this somewhere on my wall and to add more of these boxes somehow. I mean, I only have this one, but you can buy these kind of boxes somewhere, and then I want to make a nice shelf out of those where I can then display these stamps so that you can see every single stamp. But I have to admit, I found the most of these at once. So there was a person who sold several of the stamps, and then I said, okay, I take them all, and that is the stage now I have here. So I have to find a solution for this. I sometimes use these for stamping. And by the way, I don't want to miss saying that this I got for Christmas from a really, really dear friend. Isn't this just great? I mean, what the heck, this is really cool. So then, when I have this not here anymore, I also have more space here on this table, because I often stand here and use this surface here to spritz several things. Yeah, when I have die cuts, or if I want to coffee dye my paper, I do that here, and I want to avoid to spritz to my collection here. So that's the reason why I want to put this to a wall somewhere, and also it looks nice. Yeah, so that is the plan. So when I then turn around, I have another of these kitchen cabinets here, and this is all die cut embossing folder related. In the top two drawers here, I have flowers here on the right and other die cuts which are pre-cut here on the left. This looks a little bit weird because I need to cut. So this is not how it looks normally at the moment, because normally I have more pre-cut and also sometimes already stained in a color, so that I can, when I make a project, go here and have my die cuts pre-cut. Not all of them, yeah, so here's not everything always in the drawer, but things like, for example, these amazing birds here, I have always some of these pre-cut, so that I don't need to spend the time while I'm creating my project to cut them out. I also have, this is mostly animals and flowers, what's in here. And also some, labels and that stuff. These are all left over from cutting something else. I think this was from I know it. This was when I can show you, when I made this tag here during December, where I have cut these photo strips. All of these little things came out, and of course I save those so that I then can use them from here as little labels for other projects. Here on the right, this is my flower dedicated drawer. This is pretty new. So this is meant to, make flowers, as you can guess. So in the end, it then looks, for example, like this. So all of these I have already ready to go. So when I need a flower somewhere in my journal, then I can come here and take them from here. Not all of my flowers I make look like this, but this is already made without you and with a plan in my head, with which is a color palette. And I need these flowers for my future journals, and I made these already with the future journal in mind. Does that make sense? So this is then the place where they go until the day when they will go into the journal. I also bought some of these. They originally were on a bigger thing, and I have taken them off, and originally the color was this light here. And then I have alcohol inked them so that I can use them to make these little centers of flowers. That worked really nicely. Wait, can I show you one? Normally here should be. Now I can't find one. Here. I have just poked a hole and then, put a brad through them. And then I think this is really nice. This is really flexible plastic, like rubber or so, and that makes that it is dimensional on the one hand, but when there comes something on, like another journal page, then this can't get destroyed. Yeah, so that's that. Then here in the next drawer, I store my switch machine and also replacement blades for my paper trimmers and, you know, cables and technical stuff. Then in here, I have this new, I mean, not the content of the drawer, but the system I organize it. So in here, there are all of my embossing folders, also my bigger dies. And I have this, which I have shown you in my last video already, where I store my paper trimmers. This is the same system from IKEA. So you have this black thing with the holes, and then you have these little guys, and you can put them in there, and then everything is really nicely in here, and it can't move. Especially for the embossing folders, I really appreciate that, because I can take that out, see which one it is, and then I can easily put that back in here without having them flying around in this thing. This is really cool. And I did exactly the same thing with this IKEA thing for all of my die cuts. So in these two drawers, I store all of my die cuts. I have the feeling that my camera isn't really focusing. What is that? I'm so sorry. Okay, I think now it's sharp, isn't it? So here I have my die cuts in these little sleeves with a magnetic sheet here so that they can't fly around in this envelope. This is just a piece of cardboard, and then I have put the original packaging here so that I can see what it is, that I can see the number. So when you want to know the number when I make a video, I have it at hand when I have this taken out. Some of you have asked me why these packages or these sleeves look so nice. So let me answer that question as well, because you have asked why this is a pattern in the background of the packaging. So normally when you buy Sizzix die cuts, they have a package, and this is the sheet which is in the package, which shows what is inside the package and what the set has in it. Yeah, and this is just this paper, and in the background this is just a Tim Holtz paper from one of these bigger older paper pads. I've just cut that into the size of my cardboard and put that behind. And the only reason is that I wanted that this is not gray in the background. So that is the only reason why my die cut storage looks so beautiful. So then here you can see the material from the back. I've just attached a little sheet of magnetic thing here, and then I can put the die cuts on here, and they can then, sorted by theme, go in here. So I have, you know, my butterflies here because I use those, I think, the most. Then there it goes into botanicals, leaves, and so on. Here are all the animals. Also my cutting plates are in here. Here there are all of the alphabets and, you know, quotes and so on. So I've tried to get an order that works for me into these drawers here. Then we have some, like these postal things, and I always forget the names of these, and the tickets and so on. And also the seasonal die cut. So everything die cut is in here. And when I want to die cut something, I often use this area here. Looks a little bit weird, looks like here was not enough space, and you're totally right. My Defamorember journal is still here. You know, this is also an area which changes a lot. For example, I got this for Christmas, and I have just put it here because I'm so happy that I have this. And oh, I have to show you the little note. Can I show you that? Where is it? Oh no, it's too far away, but I will tell you. The person who has gifted this to me has wrapped it into paper, and there was a little note, and that note says, I have it, Tim has it, and now you have it too. And that is so cute because I always wanted one of these vintage muffin trays. Muffin trays, is that the word? Because I have seen this in one of Tim's or several of Tim's videos, and I was like, I need this in my life, but I couldn't find it. And that person was so cute. She has searched for this for such a long time because you have to know she's from Germany, and here in Germany, this kind of stuff is so incredibly hard to find. She must have searched for this I think she told me how long she has searched, but I can't remember. But it was an incredibly long time, and I'm so happy. But this is, to have this, but this is here, and it needs to go somewhere else. It needs to find a place. What I'm trying to say is this area is normally empty so that I can take my die cut machine, put that here, then die cut. And then when I have the pieces, I can directly open this and put them in here. So then they are out of my way and in the right spot where they need to go. I have the switch machine here, and my big shot machine is here. So when I turn around, I can easily reach it. In this little thing from my grandma, there are my tools like, here, these dotting tools, and also this thing which you need to take out these tiny pieces from die cuts. So I can also take this whole thing and take that somewhere else where I need it. But it's basically this. I take it and then it goes here where I need it. And when I'm finished die cutting, I take this whole thing and put it back here. So let's then go on with these shelves over there and this giant vintage cabinet. This belongs together in my brain. As I have told you, my brain works in colors and in categories. So that means all of my paper stuff and ephemera things, also things like lace snippets, metal, plastic, and so on, wood, dried things are in here and in here. This here is also the Distress palette by Tim Holtz and Ranger. So that means these rows, you read exactly the same, like this thing there on the wall where I have this overview, and it's the same order like here, like everywhere, yeah? So that means I have these little sleeves in here, and each color has two of these things. So let's make an example. Let's, for example, take fossilized amber. That means both of these have fossilized amber things in them or fossilized amber related things. I will explain what that means for me in a second and how I do that. On here, I have an oxide ink swatch so that I can see the color. If you don't know me, you might be confused now because why is this not the ink swatch? That is because I started my distress journey with distress oxide inks because that is the most fascinating medium in the world for me. And that is also why I have all of the oxide ink pads and only a few of the ink pads, the normal ink pads. And that is why I have swatched the oxide ink here, because that makes more sense for my projects and for my understanding of the colors. So this little thing here says the name, obviously. By the way, this little label is made from paper. This is a die cut by Zizix and Tim Holtz. And here in the first one, each color has two of these. In the first one, where the label is on, there's all the paper stuff, fossilized amber and fossilized amber related. And in here, there is everything else. So other materials than paper. Let's take fossilized amber as an example, and let's take both of these out so that you can see what is inside. I got a lot of questions about these things and where I bought them. Unfortunately, they are not from Amazon, but from an online office store. You can see this is like semi-translucent plastic, really sturdy. But unfortunately, That is a little bit embarrassing. I don't remember the name of the shop. That is a problem not only for me if I need more of these, but also for you because I can't link them or so. But perhaps you want to search in office shops for these things. I think this is normally used just to organize paper, or these little notebooks you have in the school. Yeah, I think children in preschool have these as well, to put all of the things they need in the school inside. And that is really handy because DIN A4 and US letter size paper fits in here. So that means in this first one, which has the swatch and the name on it, there's everything paper. I have, pieces which look really, this is not 100% fossilized amber, but it comes really close to fossilized amber, and it doesn't fit to the other yellows of the palette, so that's why it's in here. So yeah, this is, to be honest, I don't want to confuse you with the things which are in my brain. This is really, really hard for me to explain, because when you look at this napkin here, for example, you can see here are also other colors on the napkin. But this color here is really massive. And when I take this, and let's say this is in the shelf, yeah, and I stand here in front of the shelf and I hold the napkin here, then I can see all of my colors in the background. And when I then look here, I can see, okay, it must go somewhere where yellow is. And when I then hold it to the yellow section here, I can see, when I do it like so, that there, where fossilized amber was, it fits the best. So that is why this napkin goes to fossilized amber, even if there are no also other colors on this. Another option would be bundled sage, I would say. That would fit really well as well. So if I would have, hopefully it makes sense, if I would have 2 of these napkins and I would think, okay, bundled sage, that would also be a good match, then one of the napkins would go into this thing where bundled sage is, and the other thing would go to fossilized amber. If I would have a third one, because look, rusty hinge, well, not really. In the camera, it looks like it could fit. I think it's more spiced marmalade-ish. If I would have a third one, then it could happen that it would go in here. But what I see here is that these flowers around the bird are pretty massive. And also the color on here is really dominant. And that is why it is in the fossilized amber section and not anywhere else. Napkins is paper for me as well, but everything which would be fabric or lace or so would go into the other container then. So that I then, when I have a project on my desk and I need something in this color, I can go to my shelf, take this out, look what I want to use, and then use it. And to be honest, with these kind of special pieces, I mean, how can I explain that? This piece, this paper, has one solid color. It is yellow. This is for me, which, the color fossilized amber is close to this. So this solid colored piece of paper goes in here. With this, it's a little more special somehow, because when I think I need a paper which has a solid color, I know that I can find it in here. But when I open this thing, I also see this. And then I have often a really big source of inspiration from opening such a thing and seeing what I have put in here a few, days, weeks, months, years before, because sometimes you are stuck and then you think, okay, I have a yellow project on my desk, but I don't know so exactly what I want to combine or which materials I want to use. And when I then go from the color as a starting point to my shelf, see this, I can also find an idea for my project with having these things in here, even if it is not a single solid color on the napkin. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Since I have all of my die cuts in these other sleeves, I have all of these packages left. So these are the original packages from my die cuts. Probably you know these from Zizix. And I'm planning on taking these for the smaller pieces. So this is an example where I already have done that. So I have taken all of the tinier pieces like tea bag labels and little scraps and so on, and then they can go in here. They are then in this one little thing here so that they can't get destroyed and that they can't fall out here. Can you see this little slot? I had the problem in the past that, for example, tinier things like tea bag labels wanted to come out here, and then always something tiny was laying in front of my shelf because it came out here. So this is my solution. But to be honest, I haven't done that for all of the 72 colors. This is just, you know, a good example. I need to do that for the rest as well. And I'm even not sure if I really have 72 of the envelopes, but we will see. That is something for the future. So this is then also fossilized amber, but in here there's everything which is ribbon, lace, fabric I have stained with fossilized amber or a similar color, little pieces of, you know, with similar color, I mean, it is not another yellow from the palette. Yeah. So when I have, for example, this is made with cucumber and also fossilized amber, spray stain and oxide spray or something like that. So when I have this and I'm in front here of the shelf, see the colors in the background, I see, let me quickly put that other thing in here so that you can see fossilized amber in here as well. Otherwise this is hard to understand. So now let's grab the fabric. When I stand here now, I can see that fossilized amber, can you see the row of the colors above the fabric? You can really well compare that. I can see that fossilized amber is for me, for my understanding, what comes the closest to this. I mean, this is also not one solid color, but it fits the best to fossilized amber, even if it is not 100% fossilized amber. Now you could say, okay, it's perhaps also a little bit squeezed laminate here in this area. It fits to squeezed laminate as well. I agree with that. But when I hold it like so, it's not so matchy anymore, but this matches better, even if it's not fossilized amber 100%. Does that make sense? And so I take the pieces I have and I walk along here and do this. That can sometimes take a few minutes until I find the right place. But when I then have a project where I need this kind of yellow, I can take this whole thing and see what I have collected here and use that. And for me, this also brought the advantage that I really use the things that I have. Let's say you have a really nice, this for example, a really nice piece of a curtain or so, or a blanket or something else, and you have used most of that up and you have these tiny pieces left over. What do you do with them? If these would be in my other drawer where we were before, there where my neutral pieces of lace are, I would probably not use this in the context of a project which has fossilized amber as a color. Why? Because I don't think about it. But when I have everything in this place, I can take it and I can see the things I have. And then I can also find, for example, surprising things. This, for example, I got in a Happy Mail where I haven't even thought about using that. But when I see it here, I can use it. Why is this in here? This doesn't belong here, as we've just learned. So I will put that into the right spot when I have finished this. So then I can put this in here. And first, to be honest, I thought it's not so cool to have all of these things in here like, yeah, this is looks a little messy, doesn't it? But then I really became this kind of, parts of my character became more relaxed with this, even if this is not so tidily wrapped around something. I mean, of course, you can roll the things, but with having this thing here, it happens that it opens. I mean, you could take a needle, yes, and fix that there. That would also be a possibility. But in the meantime, I really appreciate this chaos in these sleeves, because when I take this out and see everything on the table, it's nearly like a chaotic mood board or so. This gives me also possibilities for combinations. If I have this separately somewhere or tidily wrapped around something, I could never see that it fits perfectly to this lace. I can only see that because these things are laying so chaotically around here. Also, this, this little piece, when I have this here, look how beautifully this fits together. I mean, take all of these pieces out, make a background for a soft cover for a journal or so, and you have the perfect pieces right in, in the same spot. And this system is for all of the other colors as well. Perhaps you might ask why this has not the name on it. That is really easy, because time saving reasons. Since I know that here is fossilized amber, I know that when I take this out, this thing has to go in here where the two labels here are meeting. So there's no other place where this could go. Oh, it's really hard to get that in there with one hand, but with two hands it's really easy. You can just, spread these and then put that in there. So that means even if I take out multiple colors, there where then the hole is between the others, I know that the color needs to go back. Of course, you could also, if you want to try a system like this, put labels here. I thought perhaps I will do that one day, but for me that would be only an visual thing that I mean a nice thing to have, but I don't really need the labels here. But of course you could do that, especially when you are not so familiar with your color palette yet and you want to learn more about the colors, then you could put that there. But when I take something out, even if I take multiple blues out, for example, or all of the oranges, I know exactly the order they need to go back in there, because my brain is the color palette, or the color palette is my brain, because I know the order auswendig. What is the English word? So I know the order of the colors, so I know where it has to go. But if you are new to this, or if you want to set something like this up, I could totally understand if you want to put the names there so that you have an easier job to put everything back. So what happens if I have something which is like a junk journal component, like, for example, a cluster, a pocket, an index card, a tag, a snapshot, or whatever. Everything that fits into those categories, which is not ideology, because that is over there, is here. So when I make a junk journal, in the most cases, the whole thing starts with the color palette. That means first I look what I have here in the colors I have chosen for the journal. Then I go over here and look which components I have to put in the journal. So that means, let's start with an easy one. Let's, for example, here, open this. In here, I have my tags. These are, and this is now really hard to explain. These are, on the one hand, things you could make tags from, meaning, for example, these bases, this is not finished or whatever, but this is a great base for a tag. that can be like sturdier ledger paper, or also things like these little guys, which you can buy in, you know, an office store or dollar store or whatever. It can also be that it is something like this, which you can easily turn into a tag, which already has colors, a sentiment, a focal point, whatever on them. In here, there are also some pre-made tags. As you can see this, I mean, I made this in a video, I think. Yeah, I'm sure. This here could also go into this shelf. So when you think, okay, I have this fits nicely to whatever. What could that be? Let's look at that. That could be picked raspberry. I don't know what that is. It's a little bit too grungy for this, but it called this here. What is that? Is that wild honey? Probably. I don't know. I don't know what I have used here, and I think there's also some brown over it, but that doesn't matter. You could think, I want to take this and put that in there somewhere. But with these things, I think it is, for me, better when they go into the component cabinet here, meaning into one of these drawers where it says tags, because when I, for example, have a journal finished which has the complementary colors to this thing here, or a journal with a botanical theme, or a journal where, yeah, let's say in general, pink fits really well, even if the rest of the journal is not pink. Then I can go here and I can immediately see that I can take this tag and put that in the journal in, for example, one of my empty pockets in the journal. I often have this in the end of making a journal, when I make these finishing touches. I really appreciate that I can go here and search what I want to put into, for example, pockets or so, because then you can also come up with unusual color palettes, things, you know, which make the journal a little more interesting. Let's say you have a really clean journal with nearly no distressing, no inking, no grunge, and you would then, because the colors fit, take both of these tags and put them in there. I mean, that would be a really great contrast, a really great style break somehow, and that is why the tags are here. I also have things like these here, for example. I made these for swatching my spritzes. I have a video how I made these for some of the spritzes. And I have them in here, even if these fit 100% in that system. Yeah, because the Distress Spritz has the same name, the same names like the other colors. So, for example, Seedless Preserves, when I have this is not Seedless Preserves, but please imagine this was Seedless Preserves. I have one with Seedless Preserves Spritz on it, yeah? So I could think, okay, let's take that and put that in here where Seedless Preserves is. But then there applies the same thing like I said before. When I then have a journal where something is missing, where I need a tiny thing to put in, then I can, from my understanding, better find that in here than in the other shelf. Because if the journal was a color that fits to Seedless Preserves, but it is not Seedless Preserves, I would never come to the idea to search there where Seedless Preserves is, because here everything is like, you know, right in front of my eyes. So I hope that makes sense. So that means in all of these drawers, there are like components which you can use to make what it says here, but also the finished things, meaning components for making tags, but also finished tags. Or in this case, also tags where I have, for example, a background, but there's a focal point missing or so. In here, where my pockets and tucks and the components for that are, there are, for example, also pockets which I got in Happy Mails. So this one here, for example, this could also go to one of the colors over there. So this looks a little bit like either, yeah, I think this is Uncharted Mariner, isn't it? That looks like Uncharted Mariner glaze, even if I'm not totally sure. And this is a little bit like tumbled glass, I would say. Yeah. So if I would take this and put this in here, this would probably go to tumbled glass, but it makes no sense to be in here because I would not search for this in here when I have a journal which has, for example, a bird theme and which is blue. Yeah, so then I can go and think, okay, I need a pocket. So I go here to my cabinet with the components and I can easily find this in here. In here there are also, for example, some paper bags and that kind of stuff which you can take and turn into pockets. So meaning the components for a pocket. So here, this is empty, nearly empty. This says belly bands. I have to say, if you don't follow my channel or if you are somehow new here or so, I have this cabinet new and this system is also new to me. So that's why in some of these drawers, there's not so much in yet. This, for example, is a belly band which I had left over from another project, which I can then use in another journal. I also have some things in here like this, for example. I got this in a Happy Mail where I think this could be turned into a belly band, and that's also such a thing. You know, this is a neutral piece of something. I could, of course, say, I mean, this would work, let's say, how can I say that? Let's say this was either neutral or it had a color. Yeah, let's say this is a piece of something you get from somewhere. And then you think, okay, what is it? It is, for example, a color. Then I can go here and put that here somewhere. I could search here where the browns are, where this fits the best. But when I have this piece in my hands, I can also see the potential for a belly band. And as soon as I see that, this will not go in here, but it will go in here, where my belly bands, finished belly bands are, and the components for a belly band. Does that make sense? Here are my snippet rolls. I'm so hoping that that makes sense. In this drawer, I have everything photo booth and cabinet cards. And as you can tell from this label and from what I have written here, this whole thing, you will see that on other drawers as well, this whole thing is massively inspired by ideology and by the names of the ideology SKUs. So in ideology, there's also photo booth available. And because my brain has these names from ideology, I decided that it makes sense for me to put them here to the drawers as well, because then it's, you know, the same in my brain, even if it contains different things. Because in here, there are not the ideology photo booth photos, because that is there. We've just talked about that. But in here, I have things which are similar to the ideology photo booth. And that is, on the one hand, printables from my own shop. So these are, for example, my grandchildren. Not really my grandchildren, but the printable is called grandchildren. I have also taken some of these and already made some ephemera which can go directly into my journal. Yeah, so this is a finished piece, but I also have the pure and like raw prints in here, which I can then take from here without the need to go to my printer every single time. I also have some original cabinet cards, original photos, postcards, but everything which is like portrait-ish, because that is what photo booth is, isn't it? Next, also inspired by ideology, I have snapshots. And this I came up with by myself, urban and nature, but it's also photos and postcards. And yeah, you know, I know, oh my goodness, I can't show you this. In here there are also some private things I got in HANDMADE and so on. Oh my goodness, how embarrassing was that? Sometimes, I mean, what is a snapshot? A snapshot is basically something where your body is shown in the baddest condition and with the baddest expression you can imagine. But that is what is inside here. Oh, here, for example, this is my brother and my grandfather. So that means I have also some personal snapshots in here. So this is not really a snapshot. This was a little photo session we had in our garden a long time ago. Yeah, so then I have, for example, playing cards here and frames and so on. And everything which, yeah, has the potential of being or becoming a frame goes in here. So these are, again, finished frames I made from some playing cards. But there are also things like this, for example, which, you know, has these frames. This could also go into the section belly band. Yeah, that would also be possible. If I would have two of these, it could happen that one goes here where frames is and the other one goes there where belly bands is, because this you could turn into a belly band. And then I have also other categories like card backgrounds, also pretty empty, because this is also something I, yeah, have new in my system, not only because the cabinet is new, but also because my way of thinking changed a little bit. My way of making cards, making backgrounds changed a little bit, and that's why this is still a little bit empty. In here I have cards I have finished, so these are made for, you know, sending out or putting into a journal as a journaling card, for example. In here there are also cards I received from other people. But what is inside this drawer is everything which is finished and ready to go into a journal. Or sometimes into my shop or so. Yeah, this is really hard to explain. Yeah, and then, oh my goodness. And then this whole thing follows basically the same system. So I think it is not so nice to open everything, because, you know, you can imagine what is inside here. I mean, that would take days to go through all of these drawers here, but perhaps you can imagine how I made this. So here, for example, I have all of my fasteners. Here I have all of my metal snippets, where I can then, you know, look what I want to use for example, making a dangle or whatever. More specifically, sorted in here, there are my charms. I have them, and also something like book corners, because I didn't want to make a separate drawer for book corners, so they are in here as well. But I have them all in these little jars. Where did I buy these? I think online in a store for massage supplies. Don't ask. In my past life, I had a massage studio and I made some, how is that called? Body peelings, like these scrubs, body scrubs, I think is the word. And I needed these containers, but I think you can use whatever you have. You could even use some empty jam jars or so. I mean, this is plastic, that makes them really light. But everything else would, of course, work as well. In here there are also my pen nibs. These I found on a flea market in Rome. I'm really happy that I have them. Yeah, and that is what this drawer has. So here are some letters, numbers, and dominoes. So also, like, you know, plastic and wood pieces, which I can use for whatever I want. This is really hard to film. I'm just realizing that. In here there are some wooden pieces, but this says wood. I'm planning on putting some, for example, yeah, other wooden pieces in here as well, but which are decorative. Here, compared to that, this is construction wood, and everything, I can't see what I'm filming right now. Everything which is, why am I so stupid? Why can't I take this out? Louisa, take it out, then it's easier. I'm so sorry. So let's put that here. So this is everything which I call construction wood, meaning if I, for example, make an ideology vignette tray or so, and I need something like this, either as what it is or for building up something, like, you know, you could use this for whatever you want. These you could use for making little fences, for example, or perhaps you need a little piece which is behind something to get more dimension or so. But in here, there are also these, even if they are not made from wood, but I use them as construction wood. I use them in the same way like these and these. Yeah, so here I also have these game pieces. They are cardboard and not wood, but I use them in the way I use construction wood. So that is the reason why these are in there. Yeah, and the good thing is all of these drawers are removable, and it's really nice that I also realized that a second ago. So when I need something from here, I can just take out the whole drawer, put that somewhere, and then see what I have, what I want to use here. For example, I have some moss. Here is not inside what's written here. This is just, you know, it was an empty texture paste jar, and I've just put this little brown grass in there. Yeah, this is mainly for my ideology makes and all of these, you know, like miniature things, or also for arrangements on journal covers. For example, when I make like a scene on a journal cover, I often use something from here. Yeah, and that's what it is. So perhaps you want to know some more of the categories. Perhaps that makes sense. I have here, for example, tape measure, shells, feathers and fluff. All here are only feathers. I needed more because I had too much of this feather stuff. Then I have sleeves, coffee and tea. So here are coffee filters and tea bags inside. This has nothing yet. Piano rolls. In dried, there is everything which is dried, like, you know, plants which are real plants and which are dried. Those pine cones are real. These on the top, they are plastic, but they look like dried. And when I use them, I will also alter them so that they don't look like plastic anymore, but that they look like real dried little twigs. And that's why they are in here. Yeah. Then I have, for example, labels, tickets, page tabs and banners, doilies, and so on. So everything which is a component you could use for making a junk journal. This cabinet here on the bottom has some more bigger drawers which have my different kinds of, yeah, like basic papers. For example, in here, there's everything Ranger related. Watercolor cardstock, this older metallic paper, and, you know, things for making cards, for example, or backgrounds. There's also some black heavy stock, the mixed media heavy stock, and so on. Then here I have the smaller ones, like the tags from Ranger and the smaller pieces. This says blank cards and tags. I have to rename this because originally I had the Ranger stuff all in here so that I had one drawer with Ranger, and then I decided that I want to divide that by color, by size, not by color, that is nonsense, by size. So this label doesn't say what it really is. I have to renew that. So then there's some craft stock, but no brand, you know, no name craft stock, black, white, and brown. There I also have, you know, from these really cheap stores like Action or Dollar Store, cheap watercolor paper in black, white, and brown. Or the brown paper is not watercolor paper, but it's like craft paper. Then I have there some sketchbooks. Here on the bottom, here it needs a label as well. There's all of my tissue paper and more translucent paper, collage paper, which is not ideology. It's really old. It's sometimes hard to close. When you work with these drawers here on the bottom, you can totally skip the gym for that day. But I really appreciate this because it can hold everything I have. This is really cool. So yeah, I have some coffee and tea and eco-diet paper in there. And directly here, below that, there's paper which is blank and I can then use for coffee dyeing, tea dyeing, or eco dyeing. Yeah. Oh, and this is very important. Let's close or end this video with this drawer, okay? So this says, don't call it junk, because in here there are all of my packages from Ideology products, Ranger products. These are all empty, but I can't throw them away. That also shows me how much of the texture pastes, for example, I use. I mean, that is not really true, because some of these I also use to store some other things, but I also had a really cool idea for upcycling these jars. I don't know when that will come. I have no idea when I can find the time to make that, but that's why this is in here. And all of the Ideology packages are also in here, because I often use them for making tags and so on. That is a great base to take something like this and then turn that into a tag. Some of these also have this plastic, because I can use that for example, shaker elements. And this is definitely not junk. Even if some people would throw the content of this into the trash can. But don't call it junk. So yeah, I think that's it. I hope you could get some inspiration from this tour. If you have any questions, then please let me know. And I will try my best to answer your questions as soon as possible, of course. And yeah, we will see where this leads us. And I'm really excited to also show you more about this cabinet and what is inside in my future videos, because I have planned some things which will then go into this also for me new system. I have this for a few months now, and the next thing I want to do is I want to reorganize this here, which says snippets, and this, which also has snippets, but in a totally different way and unorganized. And I have, you know, this looks really weird, but for the moment it works. But for example, this can't close because this is too high. This is where I have stored these before I had the cabinet, and so on. So in one of my next videos, we are going to talk about both of these snippet drawers, and I would like to take you with me when I put them into a better condition than they are now. And I also want that this is a little more organized. First, I thought this is really nice because you can go through it and go through all of these tiny things. But the more this gets, the more hard it gets to find what you are searching for. And for example, these are obviously labels, aren't they? So they normally should go in here. So there's also something in here which doesn't belong here. And when I say, when I see these, for example, I also know that I have some of these reinforcements somewhere else, and I want to have them in here. Yeah, so that is like a reorganization idea. where I want to show you how I do this. And I also am planning on getting some dividers in here, but I have until now no idea how I want to do that, but you will see that then in one of my upcoming videos. And yeah, I'm really hoping that you could get some inspiration from this. And I'm of course hoping that we will see the next time again. And of course, 2025, there will also come creative projects and junk journal making and so on. Not only craft room tour videos, even if I had a few of those on my channel during the last weeks. So have a very great and creative time, and very important, do what you love. Bye.